At that time, we had quite a few black children. And so again, I felt good about that you guys are not alone, because there are not a lot of black kids in Lexington, okay?
No.
But you always had each other, okay?
I went home one day and asked my mom, when do I get to turn white? That's how confused I was. My mom would just tell me black is beautiful and that I was made special. Also, she would say white people lay in the sun to get darker and curl their hair if it's straight. I know she tried her best, but that didn't help me at the time for how I was feeling. For the most part, it wasn't too bad of a situation I was in until 4th grade. As I hit the 4th grade, I remember school being a blur. Even to this day, I live in my own mind. I live in my own space. That's where I feel protected. That's how I protect myself. Anyhow, it was history class. We talked about segregation and slavery. At that moment, I never felt so low about myself. I remember feeling like I was being stared at. It was like they were talking about it like you would talk about ice cream. I knew nothing about slavery. I was just a kid. The images that were shown in the book were life-changing. I was never the same person after that. How could I be? People that looked like me were owned by people that were all around me. I had one of two options at that point: live my life feeling inferior, or stand up and be proud and know this is me and accept it. If you don't accept it, then we can handle it and see who is inferior. Again, I have to remind you, for the most part, kids were good. However, it takes one or two to make your life hell. There were a few that were probably raised to hate people for the color of their skin. I was alone at the school I was in. My brothers were in a different school. I don't know why though. I went to Central. My brothers went to Western. The difference between my brothers and I was that I was adopted at 13 months old. They came later after having been in their homes through abuse and neglect. Black children are hard to place children. Most of them were in messed up families. Even to this day, I can tell they are all loners. We all are. I don't know how they feel, but I do know they have a lot of subconscious memories that I couldn't imagine. I feel bad for them. Like I said, I was adopted at 13 months old. From what I know, I wasn't in a bad situation. I was just given up on. Whoever had me during my first 13 months is unknown. I wish I could tell them thanks, I guess. Between me and my brothers, I was different. But after that history class was the first time I felt rage. At the moment, I didn't know what the feeling was, but looking back, for sure, it was rage. Rage that comes out from being confused and not wanted. Rage from being different. Rage from being treated different. That's when I started to fight. Not fight to just fight, but fight if someone tried to make me feel that rage. Usually it was from racial slurs. Even at that time, my mom gave us permission that if someone calls us the N-word, to fight them right there. Now at this time, I didn't know my parents were so against that word. If we would come home and say someone called us the N-word, they would get so angry. My parents just didn't condone fighting. They weren't like that. They stood for everything the Bible stood for. Knowing what they went through in their childhood makes sense to me now, though. My parents were on our team, though. They were white, so no matter what happened in my life, I quickly learned to judge people by their actions, not what they looked like. My mom would go to the school all the time to tell the principal how she felt. She never held her tongue for her children. She was very supportive and loved us as much as she possibly could. Around this time, for our safety and our anger, my parents put us in karate. We also changed churches as well. The church we went to was in the most racist place in the county we lived in. I'm not sure why they wanted us in church so bad. After all, we weren't wanted there, that's for sure. At this time, we were a bit older, say a year or two before teenagers. I'm fully aware for the most part that we are different. I'm fully aware we are not wanted. I'm fully aware it's not okay to talk to white girls. So from how I viewed it at the time was that they separated us in the church from the white kids. Later my mom said they did, but it was the boys and girls who were separated. No one wanted their daughters to talk to any of the black kids. Since we were all boys, they just separated girls from boys. I hated church. I hated church people. How on earth can you sing a song in church saying Jesus loves you, red, yellow, black, or white? We are precious in His sight. If you know the song I'm talking about and people singing it, but their actions showed me different. It's one thing to donate money for a mission trip for a white person to preach the gospel to blacks on another continent. But if blacks walk into that same church, they will segregate you. To me, these white people did things they could talk about and not live. I learned the word hypocrite very quickly. In my mind, I would look at things to try to make sense. Either way, my parents stayed in that church for a few years from what I remember. You tend to get used to being treated like a disease. You get used to people's fake smiles. We knew we weren't wanted there. I just think the pastor didn't have the heart to just tell us to leave. I wish they did. By this time, a real racist guy had a plan to get us out. One time they said one of my brothers stole from the offering plate and wanted him to strip down. They didn't find the money though. I asked my mom what really made her leave the second church. She said that she had to go in front of the board from the church. They basically told her she was not a good parent and why are we there. I remember one guy called me the N-word on 2 different occasions. He seemed to be so angry all the time from what I remember. I learned a lot from white people and how they are, but I can say again, it just takes a few to really change your outlook. As I got older, I felt like I started to hate church people, being so young and trying to figure out how on one hand you preach about love and forgiveness, but treat people of other colors bad didn't make any sense to me at the time. At that time, I believe they were the meanest people I met to date. I think it caused me even more anger at the time, due to the fact that they were preaching but not living. These times really shaped the way I would look at church people all the way to this day.